Hey guys, it's Kat and I am back today to recap the eyeshadow palettes I have been testing over the last month or so. My last video was my Project Apocalypse, which is me recapping on the lip products I tested over the last couple of months, and that video I filmed 2 weeks ago and it took me 2 weeks of editing. That's what happens when your toddler doesn't sleep well at night. You don't have time to edit. So anyway, this video is a little bit late as a flow-on effect from that. But if you're not familiar with this series, essentially what I'm doing is trying to go through the majority of my eyeshadow palettes this year and test them out. Look, it could be one time, I could be testing them out 7 times. It depends on how many times I need to use it just to get a good idea of what I think about the palette. And then I'm going to decide at the end of the month if I'm going to keep it, if I'm going to declutter it, if I'm going to give it away, or what I've been doing lately is sort of customizing my palettes by taking sort of similar brands and building my own palettes. My intention wasn't ever to customize my own palettes, but I feel like that's where a lot of these videos have been going because I get quite attached to certain shades from certain palettes, but I don't like others. And I am really loving the custom Too Faced eyeshadow palette I made last month. Like it's one of my most used palettes, and I have been trying other palettes obviously as part of this series, but whenever I'm not testing out one of these, I sort of go back to that. So I'm really starting to embrace the sort of build your own palette, which I think is going to mean that I'm going to do it more and more in the future. Anyway, over the past month or so, I've been using my little sort of luxury palettes, I would call them. I was going to try to feature more, but life gets in the way. The main brand that I am testing this month is Viseart. I've got 4 palettes here. I also tested out my By Terry. This is, it's essentially a build your own eyeshadow. I did this at an event a couple of years ago, so I picked 3 shades that I like. They pressed it in a pan and Bob's your uncle, here it is. So that's actually a very expensive process. I was very lucky that I didn't have to pay for it. This process you can do at some By Terry stores or counters, and it's very expensive. And I'm just gonna off the bat tell you, I don't think it's worth it. I think if you could find the most amazing color combination and you love the formula, maybe it's worth it. But testing this month, I don't think I was super impressed with the colors I chose. So anyway, I'll get around to that in a second. Then I also tested out a few quads. So I've got Bobbi Brown, Chanel, Charlotte Tilbury, and Victoria Beckham. So fancy. So this month I did have quite a lot of troubles figuring out what I want to keep and what I want to get rid of. I am at a stage where I probably don't value having bulk amount of makeup. Like I'm starting to think, well, I've been thinking for a while that less is more. And throughout this month, look, I haven't had any amazing wow sort of euphoric makeup days where I'm like, that makeup is so amazing, it's totally worth the price tag. I don't think I've had that really at all this month. But at the same time, these did cost a lot of money. So there's been times where I'm like, I'm going to keep them all because they're all expensive and blah. But that's not the point of this series. And luckily I'm filming this on a day where I give 0 shits. I've got a sick cat and the last thing I can care about is a Bobbi Brown quad. So I'm luckily filming this on a day where I'm like, I don't really care. And I'm definitely in a mood where if I'm on the fence about something, it's gonna go. Whereas I think if you asked me a couple of days ago, I would have maybe erred on the side of caution and be like, but I don't want to regret getting rid of that. Now I'm like, fuck it, I don't give a shit. So yeah, it's probably a good time to film this. All right, let's start with Viseart palettes. I have 3 Petit palettes. This is like the Soleil one. This has 6 little eyeshadows in it. Sorry, 8. These are so small, but they pack a punch. They have tiny pans, but they're so cute and so small. To be fair, if I was starting my makeup collection today, like if something happened and all my makeup disappeared, I would look for palettes that are this small. Look how small that is. It's like business card holder kind of thing. So small, and then you have like a little collection of them and you have all the shades you want. I love that format. I think it's fantastic, and what I love even more is the slightly bigger ones. These are the Edit palettes. So same size pan, so really, really small. This is the Spritz Edit. This still has the plastic over the top, but you got 12 shades in here. This is more of a warm toned one. I really love some of the shades in here. There's a really beautiful sort of this bronze color. Oh my God. I feel like this metallic formula is definitely the best formula I've tried this month. It's just beautiful. It's so like shimmery and so gorgeous, so easy to apply, doesn't take any effort, doesn't take any special glue or anything to apply it. It just applies really nicely. There are a bunch of different textures in this palette. So you have some mattes, you have some more satiny finishes, you have more of this iridescent sort of peachy shade with like a cool shift to it. So a lot more subtle, a lot more bold. One thing I like about the Viseart palettes is that they do have a lot of different textures. I really like the format of these. I really love the formula. I don't think that like every shade is wow. So again, that metallic is wow, but I don't feel like every shade here is wow. But I also am aware that they're not all intended to be really bold pigmented eyeshadows. This is more of your makeup artist brand where they want to create some soft looks, some impactful looks, and they have shadows for all different needs. But overall, I do love the quality of these. I think they're some of my favorite eyeshadows because they're quite flattering and also they're really easy to use. So whenever anyone asks me, you didn't like Pat McGrath, but what do you like? My answer often is Viseart. This is the Paris edit, so it's a lot more pinky, purpley toned. I'm actually wearing it on my eyes today. So what I've done is I used this shade down here, which is more of a rose gold metallic, so similar to that bronze. This is a little bit more pink tone, but also that same beautiful formula. I put this matte on the lower lash line, and then I blended it out with that peachy shade there. So I've just gone for that. And then there's also another metallic formula shade here, which is a pink. And I just popped that on the inner corner. So that's a little bit brighter than that one. And that's what I'm wearing today. So, you know, these are very pink eyeshadows, probably too pink for me. So what I'm finding with these, I love the formula. I love the format. I love how small they are. I love how compact they are. They're so, look, 3 palettes. How many eyeshadows? 32 eyeshadows in this little compact, like that takes up nothing. Takes up no space whatsoever. I love it. So these are fantastic. I recommend them to everyone. My issue with them is there's no one palette where I like all shades. So take this palette, for example, like I love some shades, like that purple's gorgeous. It does stain, so just be aware of that. But there's like a shimmery red with like a gold shimmer in it. I don't wear that often. I wouldn't reach for that too often. So there's every palette here I like elements of and I don't like other elements of. Like this one, which is probably more closer to my daily look that I go for. The corally shades and the reds, I don't think I've even touched this matte coral. It does not even have like a brush mark in it. So that's how little I use this. So my question is, do I customize my own or do I just keep them all because they're so easy to keep and the quality is quite nice? The good thing about these as well is that because they are designed for makeup artists, they're depottable. So you can actually go in there and pop them out. They're magnetic. So they're very easy to mix and match. So if you do want to create your own palette, you can do that. If you want to take your 12, but put it in the little 8 palette, because that's your, I don't know, makeup bag shades, you can do that as well. So these are legitimately designed for makeup artists and I love that. I just thought I'd show you close up the look that I created today. So there's that sort of metallic rose gold all over the lid, and again that's just on basic primer, that sort of peachy shade to blend it out, a little bit of matte brown on the lower lash line and a little bit of that metallic light pink in the inner corners. So you can see it does create quite an impactful, beautiful look, and it was super easy because these are really nice buttery soft shadows that just glide on the skin really nicely. So they're easy to use but really beautiful. So I'm going to come back to this because I don't know what to do about these just yet. The other Viseart palette I have is the Liaison palette. This has since been discontinued. This pan size is not the same. It's bigger, which is disappointing because I think I would have loved to have taken some of these shades and mixed them with some of the shades from the other palettes and made my own palette. But look at the difference. It's a 9-pan palette. This is an 8-pan palette. So obviously the pan sizes are vastly different, but this is a beautiful palette. I don't love all shades in here. Like the silver I barely use, but these beautiful mattes up the top, they're the most beautiful shades of sort of like purpley taupe shades. They make really gorgeous eye looks. This middle row is really metallic, really gorgeous. And this bottom row is really lovely as well. These tones of purple are lovely. And there's this navy shade down here, which is beautiful. I think this is such a great sort of like diffusing a liner or adding a bit of blue to a look without it being too vibrant. I think some of these shades in here are gorgeous. Again, I'd probably swap out one or two. I feel like the top row is a little bit redundant. The silver I don't really use, but majority of this I think is gorgeous. So since I can't customize this anyway because I don't have any similar pan sizes, I'm going to keep this. And this is just the blue, for example. So you can blend it out and make it a little bit more smoky, build it up as a liner. It's just a really beautiful, versatile, like navy color. And it's quite a unique color. I don't think I have many sort of dark navies in my collection, so I like it. So yeah, I'm definitely going to keep this palette. I did create some looks using it. I'll have any photos on the screen as I talk about the palettes. This month, I have to admit, I was pretty lax with taking photos, so I might have used the palettes more than what I've shown on the screen. I just was focusing more on my lip project and neglected to take many photos of my eyeshadow. So it is what it is, but that's life. So yeah, I'm definitely keeping this because I feel like the purple tones in here are the sort of purple tones that I like to reach for. If I want something really subtle, these sort of top shades and maybe one of these sort of really shimmery shades creates more of a cool toned mauvey taupey effect, which I really like. Or you can go with the shades down the bottom for a little bit more vibrancy. I just feel like it's a really flattering way to inject purples into looks. And I think also because I've got brown eyes, brown hair, and I like brown eyeshadows, these complement browns really well. So I'm keeping this. Something I'm not keeping, look, I'm debating whether or not I move it into a different drawer and use it for a different purpose, but this is a Bobbi Brown palette. This is the Downtown Cool eyeshadow palette. This, prepare yourself to see the most underwhelming palette of your life. So this one, what is that? It is 4 matte browns. Some are more cool toned, some are more sort of blackened. This one's a little bit more, I think it's got a little bit of greeny tone to it. That's more sort of dark chocolate brown. This was sent in PR ages and ages and ages ago, and I remember looking at it being like, what the fuck is that? And I still look at it and go, what the fuck is that? The reason why I've kept it though is it actually does create really nice smoky eye looks. I don't often go for a matte smoky eye, but I found that these always performed quite nicely. I don't want it anymore, so let's just put it out there. But the only thing that's keeping me from maybe decluttering this is this shade down here is like my perfect eyeshadow powder shade. So do I put this in my eyebrow section of my drawer, or do I declutter it entirely? I don't think I've met such a perfect shade of brown for my eyebrows, which is why I'm struggling to part ways with it. But at the same time, I've got like 3 brow pomades and like 4 brow pencils, so I could do without. I wish I could sort of depot this and put this in like a single and just have it as a brow powder. And it does look like it's easy to depot. I just don't have anywhere to put it, so I may as well keep it in here. But anyway, let me know in the comments. I'm definitely going to declutter this as an eyeshadow palette, but whether or not I keep it around and try to like use up that particular shade as a brow product in my project pan. What do you think? All right, next one is Charlotte Tilbury. This is the Bella Sofia luxury palette. These are quite expensive. It's an all shimmer palette and it's got some really beautiful shades in here. Look, I like this quad, I'm not gonna lie, it is all shimmer, so I feel like I need to sort of pair it with a matte. Luckily these shades here, they're sort of satin effect, so they can sort of work as a matte if you blend them out. So they're not super light reflective, so that could be a matte, and that's sort of how I use it. Main reason I'm keeping this though is because of these shades here. This sort of chunky looking bronze, I really like it. It's like a nice all day, like everyday sort of sparkly brown, which is sort of my jam. This highlight shade is also really pretty on its own if you just want a bit of a wash of color. So these are sort of everyday eyeshadows for me. They look really bad swatched, but they do apply really nicely. They're not the most outstanding formula of all time, but they're very complementary to aging skin. And I find that I do have a little bit of fine lines and wrinkles and texture and stuff going on. So this sort of formula is quite complementary, but it's not anything like amazing and you must have and it will change your life. I do think the Viseart formula is a lot better, but because of these two shades that I can use, I can put this in my makeup bag, take it overnight to my mum's house and know that I can create just a simple look either using that shade or both. I'm going to keep this, but I think in the future if I was to buy another Charlotte Tilbury quad, I would probably try to pick one that has a better mix between shimmer and matte. So it's a little bit more of a palette that I can use all shades of. On a daily basis, I find these to be a little bit dark. They're very nice for like outer corner accents, but I feel like there shouldn't be two. I feel like there should be one matte transition color here that would sort of balance the palette a little bit better. So I like this. I was given this as a gift, so I do value it for that reason as well. But I do think it's a nice little quad. And again, it's sort of something that I can just pull out, throw on a daily basis, and there we go. You've got a pretty look. All right, by Terry. What am I going to do with this? This was a fun experience to make. I appreciate I was given the opportunity to make it. I appreciate given the opportunity to make it for free because again, this process is not cheap. I've used this a couple of times this month and I've concluded that it's just too dark. I think when I made this, I was like, this is a nice all over lid color, which it is. It's a nice all over lid brown. It's not very shimmery, so it's a little bit more satin effect. It's a little bit more subtle. And then I really like this light brown as a sort of blending out or sort of finishing off shade. Like that's all I really need on a daily basis, those two. Unfortunately, that dark brown, I feel like I'm not going to use it too much. It's quite dark and it's sort of like too dark for something I'd use on a daily basis. So again, I feel like if I was better at pairing colors, I probably would have put like a cream or something there. And this would have been a palette I would reach for a lot more. But as it is, if I use these three shades, it does create quite a dark, smoky brown look, which is pretty, I'm not gonna lie, but it's not something I reach for every day. And this formula, even though it is nice, I don't feel like it gives a really worth it effect on the eye. It just looks like a pretty standard satiny dark brown look that it creates. It's not like the most buttery, smooth, pigmented, blends itself sort of eyeshadow formula. It's just a nice eyeshadow formula. So I actually can do without this. When I was using this month, I was going back and forth between, should I pan this? Should I get rid of it? Should I pan it? Should I get rid of it? Should I keep it? Should I bleh? And I think now in the mood that I'm in, I don't need it. All right, Victoria Beckham. This one, again, is a hard one for me. I love the compact. It's beautiful. It's small. It's like got this beautiful mirror. The shades, I'm not crazy about. The formula is quite nice. It is quite firmly pressed, but does blend quite nicely. So I can see that this is like a luxury eyeshadow quad. I just find that the main color I want to use is this color here. And then these ones are sort of ignored a little bit. They are pretty. They are nice like autumn shades. And this could be a nice palette to pair with an all shimmer palette. So like think Charlotte Tilbury. But I don't think I reach for it enough to keep it. But I also don't know what to do with it. I feel like the packaging is so nice. I could keep this as like a mirror compact. But then if I'm going to keep this as a mirror compact, why not just keep it as an eyeshadow palette? I'm torn. I think this is also a good example of when you spend money, like a lot of money on something, and you sort of want to love it more than you do, or want to use it more than you do just to justify the price. But I really don't see myself panning this anytime soon, making it part of my daily routine anytime soon. What I'm actually thinking of doing is heating up the pan, prying out the pan, cleaning it out, and making this just a little mirror compact for my handbag. Is that weird? Is that too much? Let me know in the comments. I feel like this one is so indecisive because it's like, I can use things. It's cost a lot of money. Will I use it? Probably not. Is there any point keeping it around? I don't know. So yeah, is that a good idea? Or should I give it to someone? I don't know who this will suit and who will value this. Problems. All right, last quad and last palette I'm talking about in this video is the Chanel. This is the 288 Road Movie quad. This is my first and only Chanel quad. It's got its little like sponge applicators because that's fancy. I actually really like this color combo. I don't feel like it is super great quality, but I do like the colors. I love that there's this beautiful bronzy brown. Again, it's not too shimmery. It's just like a standard. I feel like high-end makeup, they create this really like lackluster shimmer that is nice on the eye, but nothing that looks amazing and impactful. This is just like your office makeup, which is fine. Like that is so bland, but it's also easy to use. This sort of more taupey, this brown, I really like. It works really nicely with my skin tone. You can see it just looks like a bit of a shadow, which is what eyeshadows are technically, well, how they started anyway. And then it's got this dark teal and a dark navy. Again, these aren't the most pigmented in the world. These are a baked formula, so you sort of have to build them up, but the teal has a bit of a shimmer, the navy is more matte. And again, these aren't wow shades, but these are really lovely to blend out liners. If you know me, I am a fan of using blue and teal liners, and these are really nice just to pop in your outer corner or as a way to sort of blend out the liner a little bit. And I think they work really nicely with the sort of bronzy tones that I often wear. So even though I'm not impressed with this formula and I don't think it's worth Chanel money, the colors, I feel like in how I use makeup, I feel like it's very usable. I also think having the shades in this little quad is actually quite accessible because I keep all my colored liners in a drawer. If I just had this in the drawer with it, I could always pull them out together, use them in conjunction, rather than looking through my larger palettes and looking for an appropriate teal to pair my liner with. So I'm actually going to keep this. If I don't use it much over the next year, I might get rid of it. But I think it's handy to blend out liners. All right, after a bit of swatching and deliberating and deciding I don't need as much as I've got, I'm in that mood, just get rid of stuff, I don't need it. I have actually swapped around my Viseart palettes and I have created a palette that I can use every day, and then these are the leftover shades that I'm not so amazed by. This little palette here, even though I do like it, I think I might give it away to a friend who might use it more because I was sort of swatching it, having a play, and it's nice and intact, and I just don't think I use the colors enough. There's parts of me that want to use these colors a lot more. I just realistically in my day-to-day life don't use them enough. So I feel like this will get a lot more love from someone else. So I'm going to pass this on to a friend who will love and appreciate it and adore it and treat it as the treasure that it is. But I personally don't need it. I'll show you a zoom in of my custom palette that is now a mix of the Spritz and the Paris Edit. I think this is definitely something I'd reach for a lot on a daily basis, and I would use all the shades. So there we go. The top row is mainly mattes. This is a matte cream. That is that light sort of iridescent sheer shimmer, which is a nice sort of highlight shade. Two more mattes, a brown and a peachy shade. A row of those gorgeous metallics that I like the most. We've got a gold, a light bronze, that rose gold, and that pink that I've got on the inner corner today. And then we have two sort of standard shimmers and two mattes, one sort of more peachy pink and one mauve. So this is definitely more of an everyday palette for me. I think a lot of the shades that I had in here before, which I'll have a like comparison photo on the screen. I feel like the dark shimmery gray I just wouldn't use. Some of the dark purpley shades I wouldn't use. This is definitely more my everyday vibe. These are the shades that I'm looking to get rid of. Again, there's nothing wrong with the formula, just things I don't tend to use on a daily basis. This is a very yellowy gold, so I opted for something that was a little bit less orange. This peach is like this fluoro coral shade is actually really, really gorgeous. I'll swatch it here. I was swatching this and I'm like, oh, actually is a really beautiful shade. It's just not a shade I wear on a daily basis. This red is really pretty as well, but again, not something I wear on a daily basis. So the formulas of these are nice. I may as well swatch that gold that I was referring to as well. It's just a little bit too orange for me. Yeah, I think these are really nice. I just won't use them. So I'm either going to, again, pass these on to someone who will use them or end up getting rid of it. All right, I'm a lot happier with that split because I was sort of looking at keeping the majority and then getting rid of like one or two. And that's not the point of this. The point of this is to only keep what I can see myself using in the near future, things that I love and adore and that are worth my time. Whereas I feel like keeping too much, yeah, it's against what I want to do this year. So I'm actually going to be getting rid of or sort of repurposing 5 palettes and keeping 4. So I'm keeping 2 Viseart. One is now a custom blend of my Paris and Spritz. I'm keeping the Liaison, which is that beautiful purple one. Again, if this was the smaller pans, I'd probably incorporate it into this or incorporate it into 2 of these. So keeping 2 little ones rather than the 4 palettes. And I'm keeping my Charlotte Tilbury. I think this is one that I could definitely hit pan on in the future, even if it's only on those 2 shades, but hey, it's something I'd use. And then I want to see how I go with this Chanel one and how much I use it paired with colored liners. And again, the only reason I'm keeping this is because those 2 shades are the colored liner shades I often like to reach for. Dark blues and teals are my favorite colored liner colors. And I do like to sort of soften my liners a little bit, blend it out, smudge it out a little bit with an eyeshadow. And these 2 colors in here are just so true to the colored liners I like to wear that I sort of find it hard to want to part with this. My kid woke up and I think I forgot to say bye. So in case I forgot to say bye, have a good one. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.